It's been a while since I've done a monarchist video, and someone asked if I would do a video about what recourse the common person would have if they had a bad king. This is always the main objection to monarchy, as if having a king is the same as having a dictator, which it is not. Now, I go through what about bad kings and the difference between a king and a dictator in my video titled Monarchy is Better. Watch that video for a good explanation of why monarchy is better than democracies or republics. I'm not going to rehash everything in this video. Rather, I will answer the question of what recourse the average person would have against a bad king by advocating for the type of monarchy I support, a parliamentary monarchy. The recourse the average person would have is obvious. You see, the only thing monarchists really have in common is we believe the head of state should be an inherited lifelong position. That's it. The amount of power the monarch has, as well as the societal and governmental structure desired, varies greatly among us. I don't advocate for absolute monarchy, so I'm not going to defend it. Although I will say this, there really is no such thing as an absolute monarchy, at least not in Europe. I'm not familiar with other parts of the world. There's always a nobility to contend with. If the nobility doesn't support you, you're done. Like I said in the previous mentioned video, bad kings don't live long. The War of the Roses wasn't fought because the House of York had a better claim to the throne. There's always somebody with a legitimate claim. I can think of 3 ways the House of Windsor could be said to be illegitimate with someone else having a better claim. But as long as everyone's happy with the current situation, there's no reason to change it. Nobody wants to go to war. The House of York would have had no support against the House of Lancaster if Henry VI wasn't an incompetent monarch married to a tyrannical queen who ruled in his stead during his months-long Canonical states. It behooves a monarch to be good. There's always someone who's willing to take his place. If he's a bad monarch, the claimant will have support. The reason I support parliamentary monarchy is because all 3 levels of society are represented. The monarchy, the oligarchy or nobility, and the common people. All 3 form naturally, and all 3 are needed. Yes, if one has too much power over the others, tyranny will happen. The monarch will rule with an iron fist. The oligarchy and common man will kill the monarch. The oligarchy will exploit the common man, and the common man will seize the wealth of the monarch and the oligarchy unjustly and squander it. Think of a parliamentary monarchy as the head of state being an inherited position, the monarchy, with limited power. The oligarchy or nobility would have one house with inherited positions, and the common people would have the other house with elected positions. If you take the United States system and give the presidency to the monarch and the Senate to the nobility, and the common people have the House of Representatives, that would be a parliamentary monarchy, sort of like the UK, which is what our system is based on. Now you might say, the UK is a mess, I don't want their system. I'm not saying that's how I feel, but some people might feel that way. Well, if the UK system is broken, it's not because they have a monarchy and a House of Lords. It's because the monarchy and nobility don't have enough say. To be sure, the Queen has more power than people realize, but the legislative power resides solely in the House of Commons, the elected branch of government. So if the UK is a mess, it's their fault, not the Queen's. The problem with republics and democracies like the United States is that they have done away with the inheritance factor in governance altogether. Why is that important? If a person has inherited their political position, then there is no danger of losing that position, which insulates the person from political pressure. Also, since that person will be handing his or her position to their descendants, they will take the long-term ramifications of their decisions more seriously, whereas an elected politician is solely concerned with maintaining his position and party loyalty. They will do whatever his or her constituents and political party tell them to do in order to stay in power, regardless of the consequences to future generations. Even the founding fathers of the United States knew the people at the top who had the final say in all matters, the Supreme Court, had to be free from political pressure, make it a lifetime appointment rather than an elected position. The problem is, since it is a position appointed and confirmed by politicians, it is not free from political agendas, and the court swings from one political ideology to the other depending on the political party in control of the other branches of government. Granted, it takes longer, and holdout judges can stop the advance of political agendas, but people don't live forever, and if a swing vote judge dies at the right time, the court can be swung radically with their replacement. Whereas if these positions were inherited, or if these judges served at the pleasure of the monarch, They would be truly outside of politics and able to make decisions that serve the common good rather than political agendas. So if we were to take the American Constitution with the division of powers as it is, make the presidency an inherited monarchy, give the Senate to the nobility, also inherited, and the House of Representatives to the people, solely elected positions, then the recourse the common man has against a bad king is you elect representatives to the House who oppose the king's will, and he will not be able to get anything done. This is actually more effective than you would think. Oxford political scientists Petra Schluter and Edward Morgan Jones have found that presidents, whether elected indirectly by Parliament or directly by the people, are likelier to allow governments to change without new elections than monarchs are. In other words, they're likelier to change the government without any democratic input at all. Margaret Travitz, in her book Presidents with Prime Ministers, found that directly elected presidents make the public less politically engaged, depressing turnout in parliamentary elections by about 7%. Even indirect elections can be extremely polarizing and tend to produce presidents who rule in ways that subtly benefit their parties. In other words, monarchs are more likely to give in to the political demands of the people, provided they are justified, than a politician is. And the common people are more likely to be involved in the political process under a parliamentary monarchy than a democratic republic. I believe this is because people know the monarch will be the monarch for the rest of his or her life, so they better let him know how they feel and use all the avenues available to them, whereas in democratic republicanism, they don't. In a monarchy, people don't have the illusion of waiting him out, hoping the next guy will be better, like people tend to do in America, believing the system will give them a better leader who will fix all the problems, not realizing that a bad president can do a lot of damage in a short period of time. Some people might say, okay, parliamentary monarchy is better than absolute monarchy, but there is still a ruling class, people are born into their position and can't change it. First, I would say that in any society, there is always an avenue for an ambitious person to rise to the top of society. The avenue is just different. The king can bestow nobility on someone who wins his favor. As well, some of the most important families in monarchies today are not part of the nobility. Kate Middleton, though royalty now and hopefully someday queen, was a commoner. Her family is very wealthy and prominent, yet not nobility. Are you saying this doesn't happen in the US? I'm sorry, but there is a ruling class in the United States. It's just that we don't have a monarch to protect us from them. It's not true that anyone can become president or senator or governor. If you look, it's always the same families that get these positions. Sure, there are exceptions, just like in monarchy, there are exceptions. But most people stay in the class they were born in. It's just that we Americans believe that anyone can do this or do that, but the reality is that's just an illusion. For a common person to become wealthy in America or get one of these positions like president takes a lot of hard work, sacrifice, and the right contacts, and there's no guarantee. So most people just get a job, whereas people born into these families have it handed to them. And that's just the way it is. It's part of the natural order. You're not ever going to get rid of it. Efforts to get rid of it have led to the most oppressive regimes in history, communism. And in those regimes, there are definitely the haves and the have-nots. It's just that the haves have everything and the have-nots have nothing. That's the reality of communism. It may not be the theory of communism, but it is the reality. And don't give me this, there's a difference between Marxism and communism. No, there's not. At least a parliamentary monarchy embraces the natural order and crafts the government so that everyone's interests are represented. Till my next video, God bless.